flown, and the final catch made, and the last screaming fan has left the stadium. The ball is passed from one team member to the next so the players can sign their names. But of all the names, there is one on that ball that is perhaps the most important. That name is Wilson. Good luck this season.
Welcome back, everyone, to OUA Today. I'm joined now by University of Ryerson Rams Dr. Ivan Joseph, the athletic director of the Ryerson Rams. Thank you for joining us.
My pleasure, my pleasure.
Exciting year for you at Ryerson. A lot going on. First, let's talk about the CIS finally. Your overall kind of idea of how it went, how it was organized, and your impressions now that it's been completed.
Well, obviously my response will be a biased answer, but we were very pleased with the outcome. We thought our teams played well. We thought the fan engagement, we thought the community supported us. All in all, I don't think it could have been a better experience for the athletes and for surely highlighting the university's reputation.
Yeah, you say it's biased, but I was there covering it for the media, and it was fantastic. It was great. The venue that you have there at Ryerson is so unique to the rest of the OUA. What advantage does that give you moving forward in a variety of different sports? Because I mean, you could put almost any major event inside that arena. It is the perfect size for university athletics.
Yeah, you know, it normally seats 2,800. We packed it in about 4,000 with the floor seating. But that Maple Leaf Gardens and now Mattamy Athletic Center, it's recognized as one of the 3 historic buildings in Canada.
Right.
You know, you've got the CN Tower, you've got the Parliament buildings, and you got, you know, Maple Leaf Gardens. There's not many more buildings that have a national reputation. So what it really does is it attracts national athletic talent to us. It attracts the casual fan that wants to come in and poke their head in and see what we have to offer. And it gives you a professional feel to CIS. It is no different than the ACC, only on a smaller scale from a fan experience.
Yeah, it is, like you say, it's smaller, but the actual fan experience that you're having, every person that's there feels engaged because you're so close to the courts. Now, the Pan Am Games, the basketball is being hosted there as well, right?
Yes.
Is there going to be a similar environment, you think, inside that gym?
So, funny you say that. The Pan Ams used that event, the CIS, as the test event for what they wanted to do. So the 150 volunteers that we had, most of them were Pan Am volunteers. They were there taking notes. They loved a lot of stuff that we did. They took some lessons and best practices, and they're going to use that to carry forward to make it even better show for them.
What suggestions would they take coming out of that could be possible improvements? I'm just interested because there were so many things that were great about the event. It's tough to nitpick, but if you had to pick something coming out of it that they want to improve towards the Pan Am Games.
It's little things like we had the angle of the bleachers that were on the far end, or that were in the concourse, right? We had a space for people to walk in front of them to get to the bleachers. Right. They said, you know what, we want those right up against the railings, and we'll have entrance only from the ends, because there was so much standing room. They wanted more accessible seating, right? Those were the types of experience, but they loved how it wasn't in Pan Am Games to build the bleachers so high on the north end. Yeah. They loved how we did that. And it's like, you know what, that really created for a really tight, intimate bowl. Let's make sure we have that.
You know, you hosted a high quality event when they're nitpicking on fire exits and seating arrangements to try and improve the event. That's very interesting. But your personal experience in sport, ahead of being an administrator, an executive in any kind of way, what did you play? What did you love? What's your passion?
I was a track and field soccer athlete down in the States. I was a dual athlete. So I coached soccer for many years, still do on the side. But I'm a PhD sports psychologist, and so my involvement is with the U.S. National B Team, the Olympic Festival program, the Canadian World CISM Championships for the military games here. But really, you know, I'm an educator first and foremost. And, you know, coaching soccer, I mean, I'm probably better suited to coach anything else but soccer, but for me, it's the interaction with young students, young men, young women, and that ability to engage them in that transforming life experience.
What about sports psychology enamors you, and how have you been able to apply that to being involved in Ontario University athletics?
Well, I think people realize that it's not your talent that defines your success. It's grit, it's self-confidence, it's all those intangible things. How many people that are so talented fall off? And I recognize that in order for me to be successful, I went from being a coach to being an AD, that I'm going to outwork anybody, right? I can learn anything. I recognize that it's my mental attributes that I can apply to this job that will make up for any shortcomings and experience and talent that I may have. And that's really been always my kind of go-to. It's, you know, it is not your abilities that determine what you will do. It is how hard you work at putting them in.
Yeah, definitely, yeah. when I always think of the comparable, I'll switch a little bit here to recruiting. Right in the heart of the city, and for so long the conversation in football in Ontario has been, why are Toronto and York not better? Because there's so many incredible athletes that are coming out of, and it's tough to say coming out of that area because that area has grown and grown and grown. But in terms of the GTA, being able to keep the very best athletes at home. When you think about a Syracuse, they brand themselves as New York's university, right?
Yeah.
That's what they want to be, and they want to keep guys from New York City, from Brooklyn, from Manhattan. They want them to be a part of their team. How much of an emphasis in recruiting at Ryerson in a variety of sports kind of leans on the idea of keeping the very best Toronto athletes at home to be marketable and also to succeed?
Well, I'll tell you, 8 years ago when I took this job, every single one of our programs but one had losing records, right? And so really the focus was to create a first-class experience. In order to do that, there's really simply three legs of a stool. One, hire the very best coaches that have a national reputation for excellence. Roy Rand, a national team. Carly Clark, national team. Lisa Haley, national team. Right? All of these coaches, Dustin Reed, national team Olympian. All of these coaches have that pedigree. Number two, provide opportunities for athletes that are sexy and enticing, that will rival the American experience. Full-time strength and conditioning coach, give athletic scholarships, get all the nicest, best gear, create amazing trips and exhibition schedules, attract quality student athletes. And the third thing, create opportunities to train and compete that will rival everybody. If you have that, that's the recruiting secret recipe for secret, right? Or what is it? Recruiting recipe for success.
The recipe for success. We're not cooks. I'm a radio host and he's an athletic director. Get over it.
Just happy to be here, right? That is, seriously, that's the recipe. And if you can do that, then you don't have to worry about attracting the best recruits to stay home. What you're really just trying to do is put the best athlete possible in your house.
Yeah, it's very true. I mean, because you can pull from anywhere as long as they're getting the correct experience, right, and the correct education as well. Your RTA School of Media, I talked to you a little bit off camera about it, but it's a huge draw, right? And I mean, you get so many applicants, and I know that it's difficult to get accepted sometimes to Ryerson, not just for the RTA School of Media, but also for a variety of things. But how much does the educational side at Ryerson play into being able to attract that quality student athlete and get that person in that experience and everything you just talked about with those three legs of the stool? 100%,
right? We have 70,000 applications for 4,000 freshman spots. Wow. A strong academic program goes hand in hand with a strong athletic program. You look at the Stanfords, the Dukes, right? Those aren't average schools. Those are schools that have outstanding reputations, and Canadian schools are on par with Ivies. I mean, I was down in the States, and I know what a quality Ivy League school is. What I would say is that too many schools will make an excuse, we don't have phys ed, so we can't get athletes, or we don't have this, we can't get athletes. The truth of the matter is every school has something they're very, very, very good at. Find your niche and don't make excuses. You will attract the best students in those programs.
How long until Dr. Joseph is bringing football to Ryerson? Because as a 5-year OUA football athlete, I'm a sucker for playing in fantasy land, and my idea was always, how incredible would it be to find some way to play a game against Ryerson in downtown Toronto, because it's just such an amazing environment. Your campus is surrounded by the heart of the city. You are really right in the middle of that pulse.
A block away from Dundas.
Exactly, of one of the greatest cities in the world. You have NBA players that come up here, and you've been involved in American athletics, so you understand how Toronto compares to a variety of other major cities, I'm sure. NBA guys come up here all the time, they say, man, I love Toronto, I'd love to play there, I would love this and that. So when you look at it, my idea, again, Fantasyland was always, is there any chance of Ryerson ever being interested in football moving forward?
I would say that there's always a chance.
Okay.
Always a chance.
Yeah. So has anybody had any conversations, or is it just an idea that is?
I probably entertain a phone call once every 6 months regarding football.
Yeah.
A big ally of trying to get football at Ryerson is Rob Ford, believe it or not.
Yeah, I'm not surprised by that. He's a big football guy, but are there more detractors at times? Because there's University of Alabama at Birmingham recently lost their football program, and it was because they said that there were more negatives to having a football program than positives. And everyone wants to have a football program for the revenue and creating the sexy experience that you're talking about, getting the right student athletes, because football is king, and obviously more in the NCAA than here, but it is kind of the marquee sport in a variety of different arenas. Are there more detractors, do you think, at times, because you're one of the only schools that has to have this conversation of, you know, we're viable, we're very profitable, we're in a great situation, we could probably pick a different place we wanted to play in terms of arena, but are there more negatives than positives in some respects?
I wouldn't link it to football. I think I would link it this way, that anytime you bring a new sport on, you need to make sure that that sport can be successful. And in order to do that, the first thing I always say is, do we have enough resources to fund the sports we currently have? Right? And right now, we would say no. Not until I have full-time assistants, full model of scholarships, like all the best things that we can do to support our current student athletes. Then, if we have that, then it's, can we sustainably fund any new sport? Whether it's football, whether it's rugby, whatever it is. That's really the only detractor. The more student athletes that we can have that fit what we are, which is a high quality academic institution, the better it is for our campus to be engaged, the more enriching it is for our community.
The athletes that you do have, the sports that you do have, you're talking about trying to create that winning culture that every organization strives for. How close do you think you are to being able to achieve the goal that you probably had when you came in 8 years ago of, I'm going to take what Ryerson is known as and turn it into blank? What is blank and how close are you to achieving blank?
Well, blank is to be in a position to be nationally recognized as a center of excellence in athletics. And we're very close in some of our sports, but it's got to be straight across the board. When I say it's, you know, in Canada, the closest thing probably is what we'll call Laval football. Maybe Alberta's straight across their department. McMaster's got it there in volleyball, maybe football. But where every program,
let's not get crazy. No.
where every program has a legitimate opportunity to win a championship. We're close, but we're not there yet. We've turned teams that didn't, like 8 years ago, one team had a winning record. Now 7 of our 8 teams are nationally ranked. I'll know we're there when every single team qualifies for the tournament and has an opportunity to win a medal. It's not so much the winning, but it's the opportunity to win that really defines success.
That's very well said. I appreciate you coming on, Dr. Joseph.
My pleasure.
Appreciate it. Anytime, you're welcome back on the show. We'll be right back after the break, everyone, here on CFMU 93.3 and OUA Today.